The whispers started before they even walked in. Sung-wook's hand on her lower back. Not hovering, actually touching. At a gala where everyone knew the rules. Assistants stay 3 steps behind, invisible, silent. Alessia tried to step away. His hand stayed. "What are you doing?" she whispered. Making a point. Across the ballroom, conversations stopped. Phones came out. The man in the gray suit near the bar set down his drink and watched. Sung-wook led her to the center of the room, introduced her, by name, to people who'd ignored her for 3 months. "My partner," he said, not assistant. Partner. Every criminal in that room heard it. Alessia's stomach dropped. Because in his world, that word meant protection, claim, untouchable. He just painted a target on her back, or forced someone's hand. The man in the gray suit was already moving toward the exit. Before we get into what happened next, this is a story, fiction, imagination. None of this happened to real people, but the power dynamics, the corporate espionage tactics, the way proximity to authority works, those are very real. So if you've ever wondered what it actually costs to stand next to power, let's find out.
Stay where you are. Not loud, not threatening. But it stopped her. Alessia turned slowly, tablet still in her hand, halfway between walking away and pretending she didn't hear him. The music didn't stop. The room didn't freeze, but something shifted, like people could feel tension without understanding it. She smiled the way you do when you're trying to keep a moment small. "I'm working." "I know." "Then don't make this difficult." A pause. Then he said it. "I don't want you working tonight." That's when heads started turning. Because Nah Sung-wook didn't say things like that, not publicly, not without a reason, and never personally. Alessia stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You're crossing a line." "No," he said, almost calm. "I've been standing on it for weeks." That landed heavier than it should have, because it sounded rehearsed, and Sung-wook never rehearsed anything. "Say what you actually mean," she said. "Wrong move." He held her gaze longer than necessary. Not dominance, not intimidation, something else, something unresolved. "I don't like the way they look at you when you stand next to me." That wasn't business, that wasn't strategy, that was something far more dangerous. Her laugh came out sharper than intended. "That's not my problem. It becomes your problem when they think you matter to me. And do I?" Silence. Real silence this time, not the kind people notice, the kind that traps 2 people inside it. He didn't answer. And somehow that was the answer. Before tonight, none of this existed. At least that's what Alessia told herself, because the alternative meant she'd been ignoring it. Sung-wook didn't hire people he didn't study. That's how power works in his world. You don't bring anyone close unless you already know how they break. But Alessia, he got her wrong. Not completely, just enough to make things complicated. She didn't flinch under pressure, didn't overshare, didn't try to impress him, and most importantly, she didn't orbit him like everyone else did. There's something that happens in high-power environments that most people don't notice until they're already doing it. They adjust, they align, they unconsciously reposition themselves around whoever holds authority, modifying behavior to stay in favor. It's not weakness, it's survival instinct dressed as professionalism. Alessia didn't do that. Which meant one of 2 things. She was either incredibly disciplined or completely uninterested. That should have made her easy to manage. It didn't. It made her impossible to predict. The shift started 3 weeks ago. A meeting ran late. Everyone left. She stayed behind, organizing documents he hadn't asked her to touch. "You missed something," she said without looking up. "I don't miss things." "You did." That should have ended badly. It didn't. Because she was right. After that, he started noticing things he shouldn't have noticed. The way she paused before speaking, like she filtered truth before releasing it. The way she never asked questions she didn't already understand the answer to. The way she never stayed longer than necessary. Distance. Always distance. And then tonight happened. The gala was supposed to be simple. Show up, be seen, leave. That's how these things worked in Sung-wook's world, controlled visibility. Every handshake calculated, every conversation timed, nothing accidental. Alessia wasn't supposed to be working the floor, she was supposed to be managing logistics from the back, coordinating with the event staff, staying invisible. But someone called in sick, and she'd stepped in without asking permission. That's when he saw her, standing near the entrance, tablet in hand, directing servers with the kind of quiet authority that didn't need volume. She looked like she belonged there, like she'd always belonged there. And people were noticing. Not just noticing. Watching. The man near the bar, mid-50s, expensive suit, face Sung-wook had seen at 2 other events this month but never spoken to, turned his head when Alessia moved past. Not a glance, a track, eyes following her from one side of the room to the other. Then he leaned toward the woman next to him and said something. The woman looked. Then someone else did. That's when Sung-wook understood. She wasn't just visible. She was being measured. He crossed the room without thinking, didn't plan it, didn't calculate the optics, just moved. And that's how they ended up here. Standing too close, speaking too quietly, creating a scene neither of them intended. You're making this obvious, she said. Good. That snapped her attention back. You want people watching. I want one person watching. Her stomach tightened. That's worse. Yes. She stared at him for a second too long, trying to read something he wasn't giving her. Then she exhaled slowly, not frustrated, just recalibrating. You're using me. He didn't deny it. That hurt more than if he had. Say it properly, she said. A beat. Then, I need them to believe you matter. There it was, clean, brutal, honest. And if they do, they'll move. And if they move, I'll see who they are. She stared at him, not shocked, just recalculating. Do you hear yourself? She said softly. You're gambling with me. No, he said. And for the first time all night his voice slipped, just slightly. I'm gambling because of you. That didn't make sense. And that's what made it dangerous. Alessia had learned something early in her career, something most people only figure out after it's too late. Proximity to power doesn't just elevate you, it exposes you. Because the people who want access to someone like Sung-wook don't go through the front door, they go through the person closest to the door. And right now that was her. She'd seen it happen before. Assistants who got too comfortable, too visible, too trusted, they became soft targets, not for violence, nothing that dramatic, just pressure points, leverage disguised as friendship, information extracted through casual conversation, small compromises that didn't feel like compromises until it was too late. That's why she kept distance. That's why she never stayed in a room longer than necessary. That's why she never let anyone, especially Sung-wook, think she needed this job more than she needed her integrity. But now he was changing the equation. He wasn't asking her to stay invisible. He was making her visible on purpose. And that meant one of two things. Either he trusted her completely, or he was willing to sacrifice her to catch someone who didn't. Who are you looking for? She asked. He didn't answer immediately. His eyes flicked past her shoulder, scanned the room, stopped on someone she couldn't see. Someone who's been very careful, he said. Careful about what? Not getting caught. Her pulse quickened, not fear, recognition. You think there's a leak. I know there's a leak. And you think making me visible will make them nervous, he finished. Yes. She processed that, turned it over, looked for the floor. They'll come after me. They already are. That stopped her. What? 3 days ago, he said quietly, someone accessed your personnel file, traced your background, checked your references. Her hands went cold. And you didn't tell me. I wanted to see what they'd do next. Jesus Christ, Sung-wook. They didn't find anything, he said, because there's nothing to find. That's not the point. No, he agreed, the point is they're looking, and the only reason they're looking is because they think you know something. Do I? He hesitated. Just for a second. But it was enough. Not yet. She stepped back, not far, just enough to break whatever invisible thing had been holding them in place. You need to be very clear with me right now, she said. Are you protecting me or using me? He didn't answer. And that, more than anything else he'd said tonight, told her everything she needed to know. Across the room, someone moved. Not obviously, not suspiciously, just wrong. The man who'd been watching her earlier, the one near the bar, shifted his weight, checked his phone, glanced toward the exit. Sung-wook saw it too. His expression didn't change, but something in his posture did, like a switch flipping from passive observation to active tracking. Don't look, he said quietly. I'm not. Grey suit near the column. She didn't turn, didn't need to. She'd already clocked him 20 minutes ago when he'd stared too long at the guest list she'd been holding. He's been here before, she said. Twice. You invited him. Knows. That changed things. Because in Sung-wook's world, if you weren't invited, you were either connected to someone who was, or you had a reason to be there that didn't require an invitation. He came with the VP of Operations, Sung-wook said, Lee Yi-min. Alessia knew that name. Yi-min had been with the company for 6 years, trusted, competent, boring in the way people who handle logistics are supposed to be boring. You think Yi-min's involved? I think Yi-min doesn't know who he brought. She understood immediately. It's one of the oldest infiltration tactics in corporate espionage. Get someone clean to vouch for you. Not a bribe, not a conspiracy, just a favor, a +1, a friend of a friend who needed access to the event for networking purposes. And once you're inside, you just listen. What do you want me to do? She asked. Nothing. That's not an answer. Yes, it is. She turned to face him fully now, didn't care who was watching. If you want me to play a part, tell me what it is. If you want me to stay out of it, say that. But don't ask me to stand here and pretend I don't know what's happening. For a moment he just looked at her. Not the way he looked at employees, not the way he looked at obstacles. The way you look at someone when you're trying to decide how much truth they can handle. Then he said something she didn't expect. I don't want you doing anything, I just don't want you leaving. That landed differently than it should have. Why? Because the second you're out of sight, I can't protect you. From what? From being used against me. Her breath caught. Not because she didn't understand. Because she did. He wasn't worried about the leak. He was worried about what they'd do to get to him. And somehow, without either of them planning it, she'd become the thing they'd go after first. The music shifted, something slower, more deliberate. Couples moved toward the center of the room. A few people glanced their way, curious but not alarmed. Not yet. Sung-wook extended his hand. Dance with me. She blinked. What? Dance with me. We don't. I knows. People wills. I knows. She stared at his hand, then at his face. You're making this worse. Yes. Why? He didn't answer. Just waited. And after a moment that felt longer than it was, she took his hand. The floor wasn't crowded, maybe a dozen couples moving in slow, practice circles, enough people that they wouldn't stand out, few enough that everyone would notice. He pulled her close, not intimate but not professional either. You're insane, she whispered. Probably. This doesn't help anything. It helps me know where you are. There are easier ways. Not ones that keep you visible. She wanted to argue, wanted to pull away, wanted to tell him that whatever plan he thought he was executing, it was reckless and stupid and going to get both of them hurt. But she didn't. Because somewhere in the last 10 minutes something had shifted. Not in the room. In her. She'd stopped trying to stay invisible. And that, more than anything Sung-wook had done tonight, was the real danger. They moved in silence for a moment, his hand steady against her back, her pulse louder than the music. Then he spoke, quiet enough that only she could hear. 3 weeks ago, you corrected me in front of the board. She remembered. You were wrong about the revenue projections. I know. Then why bring it up? Because nobody does that, he said. Nobody tells me I'm wrong in front of people who matter. Maybe they should. Maybe. Another pause. I should have fired you. But you didn't. No. Why? He looked at her then, really looked at her. Because you weren't trying to embarrass me. You were trying to stop me from making a mistake. That's my job. No, he said, your job is to make me look good. You chose accuracy over optics, that's different. She didn't know what to say to that. So she didn't say anything. They kept moving, the song changed, neither of them stopped. And across the room, the man in the grey suit was watching. Not casually. Not politely. Watching. Sung-wook saw it. So did Alessia. He's staring, she said. Good. That's not good. It is if he's the one I'm looking for. And if he's not, then I'm about to make a very public mistake. Her stomach dropped. Sung-wook. Trust me. I don't even know what you're doing. Yes, you do. And the terrible part was, she did. He was forcing a reaction, creating pressure, making someone move before they were ready. And he was using her to do it. The song ended. Applause scattered across the room. Sung-wook didn't let go of her hand. Someone approached, one of the senior executives, smiling too wide, voice too loud. Sung-wook, I didn't know you. Not now, Sung-wook said. The executive's smile faltered. I just wanted to. Later. The man left. And that, more than the dance, more than the conversation, more than anything that had happened tonight. That was the moment everyone in the room understood something had changed. Because Nah Sung-wook didn't dismiss people. He controlled them, redirected them, used them. But he didn't dismiss them. Not unless something mattered more. Alessia felt it, the shift, the weight of every eye in the room turning toward them. You just made this very real, she said quietly. I know. I can't take this back. I know. Do you? He looked at her. And for the first time all night, for the first time in the 3 months she'd worked for him, she saw something she didn't recognize. Not control. Not calculation. Something rawer than that. I'm sorry, he said. She blinked. For what? For not asking first. Her throat tightened. Asking what? If you were willing to be seen. That hit harder than it should have. Because he was right. He hadn't asked. He'd just decided. And now she had a choice. Walk away, go back to being invisible, pretend tonight didn't happen. Or stay. And accept that everything around him would be dangerous from this point forward. She opened her mouth. Closed it. Then, across the room, the man in the grey suit moved. Not toward them. Away. Toward the exit. Fast enough to look wrong. Slow enough to look controlled. Sung-wook's hand tightened on hers. Just slightly. Don't follow him with your eyes, he said. I'm not. Good. She waited. 3 seconds. 5. Then, did he leave? No. Her pulse spiked. Where is he? Talking to someone near the door. Who's? Sung-wook's jaw tightened. I don't know. And that was the first crack in his certainty she'd heard all night. Because Nah Sung-wook always knew. He knew who was in the room, who they worked for, who they were connected to. That was the foundation of his power. But this person, whoever the man in the grey suit was talking to, Sung-wook didn't know them. And that meant they weren't supposed to be there. We need to leave, she said. No, Sung-wook. If we leave now, we lose the read. The read on what? On whether they're reacting to you or to me. She stared at him. You're still testing. Yes. Even now. Especially now. Her hands went cold. Because she finally understood. This wasn't about catching a leak. This was about confirming who the leak was working for. And the only way to do that was to see who moved when the pressure became unbearable. You're going to push until someone breaks, she said. Yes. And you don't care if that someone is me. He looked at her. Really looked at her. No, he said quietly. I care if it's you, that's the problem. Before she could respond, the man in the grey suit turned, looked directly at them, and smiled. Not friendly, not threatening, just aware. Like he knew exactly what Sung-wook was doing, and didn't care. Alessia's breath caught. He knows, she whispered. Yes. Then what? The man raised his glass. A toast. To them. Then he turned and walked out. The car ride back was silent. Not the comfortable kind, the kind where both people are thinking too loud to speak. Alessia sat with her tablet in her lap, screen dark, staring at nothing. Sung-wook kept his eyes on the passing city lights, jaw tight, fingers drumming once against his knee before going still. He'd sent security after the man in the grey suit, discreetly, no scene. They'd lost him 2 blocks from the venue. That shouldn't have been possible. The car stopped outside her building. Driver didn't get out, engine still running. Sung-wook looked at her. Take tomorrow off. No. Alessia. If I disappear now, it confirms everything you just made them believe. He didn't argue. Because she was right. She got out. The car didn't leave until she was inside. Alessia didn't sleep. She sat at her kitchen table with her laptop open, pulling up every meeting from the last 3 weeks. Calendars, agendas, attendee lists. Looking for the thing she'd missed. Because there had to be something. People don't just walk into Sung-wook's world and toast you from across the room unless they already know you matter. First inconsistency, 3 weeks ago the quarterly strategy meeting got moved. Last minute, no explanation, just a calendar update pushed to everyone's phones at 11 p.m. the night before. She'd thought it was scheduling conflict. Now she wasn't sure. She opened the original invite, cross-referenced who'd been included. 12 people initially. Meeting happened with 9. 3 people dropped without replacement. Daniel Kang, VP of International Operations. Lee Yemin, VP of Operations. And someone she didn't recognize, external consultant, name she'd never seen before or since. She pulled Kang's employment record. Resigned 4 days after that meeting. Yemin requested transfer to Singapore. The consultant no record of payment, no contract on file. Her stomach tightened. She kept digging. 2 weeks ago another meeting, smaller, internal only, 5 people. Access permissions to the financial server were changed the morning of that meeting. She remembered because she tried to pull a report Sung-wook requested and got locked out. Took it 3 hours to fix it. She'd assumed it was a system error. Now she pulled the access logs. Permissions hadn't glitched. They'd been manually altered. By someone with administrative credentials. Which meant someone senior. Someone close. Her hands went cold. Because this wasn't a leak. This was an audit. Sung-wook wasn't trying to catch someone stealing information. He was trying to catch someone controlling it. She arrived at the office before sunrise. Building almost empty, just security and the overnight cleaning crew. She took the stairs, didn't want her name logged in the elevator system this early. Reached her desk, powered on her computer. Started mapping every operational change in the last month. Meetings moved, access changed, information requests delayed or rerouted. Individually, they meant nothing. Together they formed a pattern. Someone was compartmentalizing information, making sure certain people didn't have access to certain things at certain times. That's not how leaks work. That's how investigations work. You're here early. She turned. Park Min-jun stood in the doorway, senior director, been with the company 8 years, one of the few people who'd worked directly under Sung-wook since the beginning. Couldn't sleep, she said. He nodded, stepped inside, closed the door behind him. That wasn't normal. You were at the gala last night, he said. I was working it. That's not what it looked like. She kept her expression neutral. I don't know what you mean. He studied her for a long moment, then crossed to the window, looked out at the city waking up below. You seem smart, he said, so I'm going to assume you've already figured out that working close to him is dangerous. Dangerous how? Proximity isn't protection here, it's exposure. He turned to face her. People who get too close to Sung-wook, they don't last. I've noticed the turnover rate. I'm not talking about turnover, his voice dropped. I'm talking about people who matter to him, people he trusts, people he actually lets in. She waited. They either leave, Min-jun said, or they become very quiet. Which one are you? He smiled, didn't reach his eyes. I learned to be useful without being interesting. That landed heavier than it should have. Because there's a survival strategy in high-power environments that most people don't recognize until they need it. You don't survive by being indispensable. You survive by being functional, valuable enough to keep around, not important enough to threaten anyone. Interesting people attract attention. Useful people stay employed. Why are you telling me this? She asked. Because last night you became interesting. He left without another word. Sung-wook arrived an hour later. She heard him before she saw him, footsteps in the hallway, deliberate, controlled. He walked past her desk without stopping. No greeting. No acknowledgement. Just straight into his office, door closed. She stared at the space where he'd been. That wasn't normal either. For 3 months he'd started every morning the same way, coffee on her desk, brief rundown of the day's priorities, occasionally a comment about something he'd read overnight. Small rituals that created rhythm. Today, nothing. She gave it 20 minutes. Then knocked. Come in. He was at his desk, paperwork spread in front of him, didn't look up when she entered. I need your signature on the vendor contracts, she said. Leave them. There's a deadline. I'll handle it. She set the folder on his desk. Waited. He kept reading. She didn't move. Finally, he looked up. Was there something else? His tone was ice. Not anger, not frustration. Distance. No, she said. She turned to leave. Alessia. She stopped. Close the door behind you. She did. And stood in the hallway, pulse hammering, trying to figure out what the hell just happened. Because that wasn't strategy. That was overcorrection. He'd made her visible last night. Now he was erasing her. By noon, she'd tested a theory. Small thing, deliberate. Sung-wook had asked for the quarterly projections. She'd compiled them, sent them over. But she'd left out one number. Not critical, not obvious. Just a single data point in a column of 30. Regional performance for the Singapore office. The office Yimin had requested transfer to. She waited. 3 minutes later, her desk phone rang. You missed Singapore. No preamble, no pretense. I'll resend it, she said. Why did you leave it out? I didn't, must have been a formatting error. Silence. Then, don't do that again. He hung up. She sat back in her chair, stared at the phone. He'd caught it in 3 minutes, which meant he wasn't just reading the reports. He was scanning for specific things, specific gaps, and the fact that he'd noticed Singapore immediately. That wasn't random. The breach happened at 2:47 p.m. She only found it because she was looking. A document she'd handled that morning, routine contract review, appeared in an email thread she wasn't copied on. Internal chain, 4 people. None of them had clearance to see that contract. She checked the metadata. Forwarded from her account. Timestamp 1:13 p.m. She'd been in a meeting at 1:13 p.m. Someone had accessed her terminal while she was gone. Her office didn't have cameras, but the hallway did. She pulled the security footage, scrolled to 1:10 p.m., watched herself leave for the conference room, watched the hallway stay empty. 1:13 p.m. Still empty. 1:17 p.m. A figure appeared, walked past her office, didn't stop. But the angle was wrong. She rewound, watched again. The person walked past, but their shoulder dipped, just slightly, like they'd reached for something. She froze the frame. Couldn't see the face, just the back of a suit jacket. Charcoal grey. Standard corporate wear. Could have been anyone's. She checked the timestamp against the building access logs. 17 people on that floor during that window. 12 men, 5 women. 8 wearing grey or charcoal suits, according to the lobby security footage from that morning. She was narrowing it down when her phone buzzed. Sung-wook. My office now. He was standing when she walked in. Not at his desk. By the window. Back to her. Someone accessed your terminal this afternoon, he said. Not a question. I know. And you were going to tell me when. I was verifying it first. He turned. His expression was unreadable. What did they take? A contract, routine vendor agreement, nothing sensitive. Then why take it? She'd been asking herself the same thing. To see if I'd notice, she said slowly. His jaw tightened. Or to see who you tell. That hit differently. Because he was right. If someone took something insignificant, something that wouldn't trigger alarms, wouldn't cause damage, the only reason to do it was to track the response. To see if she'd report it. To see if she'd panic. To see if she'd go to Sung-wook. They're not watching me, she said quietly. They're watching how you react to me. Yes. She stared at him. How long have you known? Since the moment I made you visible. Her breath caught. You knew this would happen. I knew it was possible. That's not the same thing. No, he agreed, it's more useful. That should have made her angry. It did. But underneath that, she understood. Because if someone was controlling information flow, compartmentalizing access, tracking reactions, the only way to identify them was to create a variable they couldn't predict. Someone inside your circle is watching me, she said. Knows. He stepped closer. They're watching who reacts to you. The room felt smaller suddenly. And have they? His eyes held hers. Yes. Her pulse spiked. Whose? I don't know yet. But you're close. Very. She processed that. Turned it over. Looked for the thing he wasn't saying. Found it. That's why you went cold this morning. He nodded once. If I keep treating you the same way, they'll know the visibility was deliberate, but if I overcorrect, they think you're trying to undo a mistake. Yes. And mistakes, she said slowly, make people careless. Exactly. She exhaled. Not relief. Recognition. This wasn't about protecting her. This was about using her emotional proximity as bait. I'm the variable that forces their hand, she said. Yes. And when they move, I'll see them. She should have walked out. Should have told him this was too far, too dangerous, too much. But she didn't. Because somewhere in the last 24 hours, something had shifted. She wasn't trying to survive proximity to power anymore. She was trying to understand it. And that was far more dangerous than anything he could do to her. What happens when you find them? She asked. His expression went flat. That depends on what they've done. And what have they done? I don't know yet. He was lying. Not completely. But enough. She could see it in the way his shoulders held tension, the way his eyes tracked past her toward the door, the way his fingers flexed once before going still. He knew more than he was saying. Which meant whatever this was, it was worse than a leak. You're not telling me everything, she said. No. Why? Because the less you know, the more authentic your reactions are. That landed like a slap. I'm not your actor. No, he said quietly, you're my insurance. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Again. She stared at it. Sung-wook saw her face. Answer it. She did. Put it on speaker. Hello. Silence. Then. You should have stayed invisible. Same voice as before. Calm, almost polite. Sung-wook's eyes went sharp. Who is this? Alessia asked. A pause. Then. Someone who's been watching longer than you've been looking. The line went dead. Sung-wook moved immediately, pulled his phone, dialed. Trace that call. He listened. Then. Burner inside the building. He hung up. Looked at her. And for the first time since she'd met him, she saw something close to fear. They're not outside anymore, he said quietly. They're here. Security swept the building floor by floor. Found nothing. No burner phone, no trace, no one who didn't belong. Which meant whoever called her was authorized to be there. Sung-wook didn't send her home, didn't tell her to stay away from her desk, didn't change a single visible thing about how they operated. But he moved her. Not physically, strategically. By the end of the day, her access permissions had been elevated. She could see files she didn't need to see, enter rooms she'd never been cleared for. Her name appeared on distribution lists for executive communications. To anyone watching, it looked like trust. To Alessia, it looked like exposure. She waited until everyone left, then walked into his office without knocking. He was still at his desk, lights dimmed, city glowing through the window behind him. He didn't look surprised. Close the door, he said. She did. Then stood there, arms crossed. We need to talk. I know. No, not the version where you tell me what you think I need to hear. The real version. He leaned back in his chair, studied her. Sit. I'm fine standing. Alessia, tell me what this is actually about. A pause. Then, sit down, please. She sat. Not because he asked, because her legs were shaking and she didn't want him to see it. He was quiet for a long moment, choosing words carefully. That alone told her how bad it was. When Sung-wook hesitated, it wasn't because he didn't know what to say. It was because he knew exactly what saying it would cost. 3 months ago, he started, we lost a contract. Major one, government infrastructure project. We were the only bidder with the clearance and capacity to handle it. She nodded, she remembered. The whole office had felt it. We lost it, he continued, because someone submitted our financials to the oversight committee before we did. Same numbers, same projections, but formatted differently, just different enough to look like we doctored our official submission. Her stomach dropped. They made it look like fraud. Yes. And the committee believed it. They had no reason not to. The leaked version came from an internal server, our server. She processed that. You have a leak. I have someone who understands financial architecture well enough to fake documents that pass external audit. That was different. That wasn't just stealing information. That was sabotage. How much did you lose? She asked. The contract was worth 400 million over 3 years. Her breath caught. Jesus. That's not the worst part. She waited. 2 weeks after we lost the contract, he said, 3 of our subsidiary accounts were flagged for review. Routine compliance check, except it wasn't routine. Someone had filed an anonymous report claiming we were moving money through shell companies. Were you? His eyes went flat. Everyone at this level moves money through shell companies. That's not illegal, it's tax strategy. But if someone knows which companies, they can make it look illegal, yes. She understood now. This wasn't about a leak. This was about someone trying to collapse the entire structure. Who would benefit from that, she asked. Competitors, regulators, investors who want me out, he paused, or someone inside who's being paid enough not to care what happens after. You think it's internal. I know it's internal. The documents they're accessing require credentials and physical presence. This isn't a hack. It's someone walking through doors they're supposed to walk through. She sat back. Let that settle. And you think making me visible will help you find them? I think making you visible already has. The calls, the access breach, the way certain people have started watching you. He leaned forward. Someone is trying to figure out what you know, which means they think you know something. But I don't. No, but they don't know that. Her hands went cold. So you're using me to draw them out. I'm using the idea of you, he corrected. There's a difference. Not to the person trying to figure out if I'm a threat. He didn't deny it. She stood, paced to the window, looked out at the city. You should have told me. If I told you, your reactions wouldn't be authentic. I'm not your experiment. No, he said quietly, you're my variable, and right now you're the only one I have that they can't predict. She turned to face him. Because I didn't know I was playing. Yes, that honesty hurt more than a lie would have. You're gambling with my safety, she said. I'm gambling with mine too. That's not the same thing, you chose this, I didn't. You're right. She waited for more. He didn't give it. That's it, she said. You're just going to agree with me and keep doing it anyway. Yes. Her jaw tightened. Why? Because if I stop now, whoever's doing this wins. And if they win, I lose everything. The company, the infrastructure, the people who depend on this place staying solvent. And me, what do I lose? He looked at her for a long moment. I don't know yet, he said. That's what I'm trying to prevent. She went back to her desk. Didn't leave. Couldn't. Because as much as she wanted to walk away, as much as every instinct told her proximity to this was dangerous, she needed to understand how deep it went. Her phone was still on her desk, personal one, not the work device. She picked it up, checked her messages. Nothing unusual. Emails normal. Then she opened her banking app. Routine, just checking. Login failed. She frowned, tried again. Failed. Password incorrect. She hadn't changed her password. Her pulse spiked. She opened her laptop, tried logging into her bank account from there. Same error. She pulled up her email, searched for password reset notifications. Found one. Timestamp 40 minutes ago. While she was in Sung-wook's office, someone had tried to access her bank account and failed, but they'd gotten far enough to trigger a security lockout. She stood, walked back to Sung-wook's office. Door still open. He looked up when she entered, saw her face, What happened? Someone just tried to get into my bank account. He went very still. When? 40 minutes ago. He checked his watch. Then pulled his phone, dialed. I need security footage for the executive floor. Time frame 6:15 to 6:45 p.m. He listened. Send it to my screen. He hung up. Turned his monitor toward her. Footage loaded. Hallway outside her desk. Empty. Then, a figure appeared, moved quickly, not running, just purposeful. Stopped at her desk. Reached for something. Her phone. Picked it up. Held it for 11 seconds. Put it down. Walked away. The angle didn't catch the face, but she recognized the suit. Charcoal grey. Same one from the hallway breach yesterday. They're escalating, Sung-wook said quietly. They're not just watching anymore, they're testing access points. She stared at the screen. Why my bank account? Because assistants are the weakest security layer in any organization. You handle sensitive information. You have access to my calendar, my communications, my files. If they can compromise you financially, create debt, create pressure, they can leverage you. That's a known strategy in corporate espionage. You don't go after the CEO directly. You go after the person closest to them, the one who sees everything but doesn't have the same security infrastructure. Personal finances, family situations, legal vulnerabilities, anything that can be used to create pressure. Most people don't realize they're being compromised until it's too late. But they failed, she said. This time. She looked at him. You're saying they'll try again. I'm saying they're confirming you're worth the effort. Her breath came shorter. I can't do this. Yes, you can. You don't know that. I do. She shook her head. You don't trust me, you just trust I won't break. That landed. He stood. Walked around the desk. Stopped 3 feet from her. You're right, he said. I don't know if you'll break. No one knows that until it happens. But I know you've been standing in the center of something you didn't ask for and you haven't run. That's not nothing. It's not enough either. No, he agreed, but it's what I have. She wanted to scream. Wanted to tell him that wasn't good enough, that she deserved better than being a variable in someone else's equation. But she didn't. Because part of her, the part that had stayed invisible for years, had kept distance, had never let anyone matter enough to hurt her. That part understood exactly why he was doing this. If I stay, she said quietly, I need to know what I'm actually risking. Everything. Be specific. He exhaled. If I lose control of this, you won't just lose your job. She held his gaze. Then stop acting like that's the only thing I risk. Silence. Heavy. Real. He didn't look away. What else do you think you're risking? You tell me. Another pause. Longer this time. Your safety, he said finally. Your reputation, your ability to work in this industry again if this goes wrong publicly. And his jaw tightened. And whatever this is between us that I haven't named yet. There it was. The thing neither of them had said out loud. The thing that made all of this more complicated than strategy. She should have let it go. Should have walked away before it became something neither of them could take back. But she didn't. You're protecting yourself, she said, not me. I'm protecting both of us. By controlling everything I know and everywhere I go. By keeping you close enough that I can see threats before they reach you. That's not protection, that's surveillance. His eyes flashed. Would you prefer I let you walk into something blind? I'd prefer you stop deciding what I can handle without asking me first. Fine, he stepped closer. Can you handle being the reason someone inside this company is about to lose everything? She didn't flinch. Can you handle being the reason I do? That stopped him. What? You heard me. If this goes wrong, if they figure out I'm just bait and come after me anyway, are you going to be able to live with that? He didn't answer. Couldn't he? Because they both knew the truth. He'd already made that calculation. And he'd decided she was worth the risk. Not because he trusted her. Because he needed her. You should go home, he said finally. I'm not leaving. Alessia, if I leave now they win, you said it yourself. That was before they tried to access your bank account. And it'll be something else tomorrow, and something else the day after. She crossed her arms. I'm not running, but I'm also not doing this blind anymore. What do you want? I want to know who you suspect. I can't tell you that. Why not? Because the second you know, you'll look at them differently, and they'll notice. She hated that he was right. Then tell me what happens when you find them. His expression went cold. I remove the problem. How? However I have to. That should have scared her. It didn't. It clarified something. This wasn't just about money or power or corporate survival. This was personal. Someone had tried to destroy what he'd built, and he was going to make sure they regretted it. Okay, she said. Okay. I'll keep playing your variable, but on one condition. What? When this is over, when you've found whoever's doing this, you tell me everything. No filters, no strategy, just the truth. He studied her. And if the truth is worse than you think, then at least I'll know what I survived. He nodded slowly. Deal. She turned to leave. Alessia. She stopped. I meant what I said earlier, about protecting both of us. She looked back at him. I know, that's what scares me. The second gala was 3 days later. Different venue, same people. Alessia knew what it was the moment the invitation landed on her desk. Not a social event. A stage. Sung-wook didn't ask if she'd attend, just had a car pick her up at 7, black dress waiting in the back seat, her size, her style. He'd planned this. She should have refused. She got in the car. The ballroom was smaller than the first venue, more intimate, which meant fewer places to hide. Fewer places to watch from a distance. Everyone would be visible. That was the point. She arrived before Sung-wook, deliberate, he wanted her seen walking in alone. Heads turned when she entered. Not curious glances. Assessments. She recognized some faces from the first gala. Others were new, but they all had the same expression, the kind people wear when they're trying to figure out where you fit in a hierarchy they thought they understood. She took a glass of champagne from a passing server. Didn't drink it. Just held it. Gave her hands something to do. Park Min-jun was near the bar, saw her, nodded once. Didn't approach. Lee Yi-min stood with a cluster of operations staff. He looked at her for 3 seconds too long before turning back to his conversation. And then, the man in the grey suit. He was here. Different suit this time, navy but same face, same posture. Standing near the entrance, watching. Not hiding it anymore. Her pulse spiked. She didn't look away. Neither did he. Then Sung-wook entered. The room didn't quiet, didn't shift. But something changed in the air. He scanned the space once, found her. Walked directly to her. No stops, no greetings. Just straight across the room. People noticed. Of course they noticed. He stopped in front of her, close enough that anyone watching would read it as intentional. You look nervous, he said quietly. I'm not. Liar. She almost smiled. What happens now? Now we see who moves. And if no one does, they will. He took the champagne glass from her hand, set it on a nearby table. Then offered his hand. Dance with me. We did this already. Not like this. She studied his face. looking for hesitation. Found none. She took his hand. The floor was more crowded this time, easier to blend in. But Sung-wook didn't blend. He positioned them center floor, where everyone could see. "You're making a statement," she said. "Yes." "What statement?" "That you're not my assistant anymore." Her breath caught. "What?" His hand tightened on her waist. "People are watching, let them." "Sung-wook, trust me. I don't even know what you're doing." "Yes, you do." And she did. He was removing the hierarchy. In every organizational structure, especially in corporate or political environments, roles define behavior. Assistants don't get protected. They get used. They're expendable by design. That's what makes them effective access points for people trying to extract information or apply pressure. But if someone stops being an assistant, if they become something undefined, the calculation changes. Because now you don't know what they have access to, what they know, what they mean to the person in power. Uncertainty is a weapon. And Sung-wook was deploying it. "This is insane," she whispered. "Probably. Everyone's going to think. I know what they'll think. And you're okay with that." He looked at her. Really looked at her. "Are you?" She didn't answer. Couldn't. Because the honest answer was yes. And that terrified her more than anything else happening tonight. They moved in silence for a moment. Then Sung-wook spoke, loud enough that the couples near them could hear. "You're working too much." She blinked. "What?" "I said you're working too much." What are we doing?" "Having a conversation." But his eyes said something different. "Play along." She exhaled slowly. "I'm fine." "You're not, you look exhausted." "I wonder whose fault that is." A few heads turned. "Good. Let them hear." "Take tomorrow off," he said. "I have meetings." "Cancel them." "I can't just." "Yes, you can." Her jaw tightened. "Are you telling me or asking me?" He stopped moving. Right there, center of the floor. People around them kept dancing, but everyone was watching now. "I'm asking," he said. That was the shift. Not loud, not dramatic, but unmistakable. Because Nah Sung-wook didn't ask. He directed, controlled, decided. Asking meant something else. It meant she had a choice. And everyone in this room just watched him give it to her. "Then I'll think about it," she said. His mouth almost curved. "Good." He started moving again. But the damage, the beautiful, calculated damage, was done. Across the room, someone's phone buzzed. The man in the navy suit checked it. Frowned. Looked up. Directly at them. Then at someone else. Alessia followed his gaze. Lee Yimin's. Yimin's expression hadn't changed, but his shoulders had. Tension where there wasn't before. "He's moving," Sung-wook murmured. "Who's?" "Watch Yimin." She did. Yimin excused himself from his group, walked toward the hallway. Not rushed, but not casual either. The man in the navy suit waited 3 seconds. Then followed. Sung-wook's hand pressed against her back, a signal. "Stay here." "What are you?" But he was already moving. Not following them. Walking toward the bar. Where Park Min-jun stood. He said something to Min-jun, quiet, quick. Min-jun nodded. Pulled his phone. Sent a message. Then walked toward the exit. Different direction than Yimin. Alessia stood alone on the dance floor. Heart hammering. Trying to look like nothing was wrong. Someone approached. Kim Sara, VP of Communications, friendly smile. Alessia, right. Yes. I don't think we've officially met. I've seen you around, of course, but... Excuse me. Alessia walked away. Not toward Sung-wook. Toward the hallway Yimin had disappeared into. She shouldn't have. Knew it was stupid. Went anyway. The hallway was empty. 2 doors, both closed. She stopped. Listened. Voices. Low, tense. Behind the door on the right. She shouldn't. She pressed her ear against it. Don't know what you're talking about. Yimin's voice. Don't insult me. The man in the navy suit. I've done exactly what you asked. You've done nothing. She's still here, still close to him. You were supposed to create distance. Silence. Then, I tried. He's not responding the way he should. Then try harder. You don't understand. He's changing the dynamic, making her visible on purpose. I know what he's doing. That's why we need to move now. Move how? However we have to. Her blood went cold. Footsteps. Coming toward the door. She turned. Walked quickly back toward the ballroom. Not running. Just moving. Someone grabbed her arm. She spun. Sung-wook. What are you doing? He said quietly. They're in there, Yimin and the... I knows. They're planning something. I knows. He pulled her back into the ballroom. Positioned them near the entrance. Where they could see the hallway. 30 seconds later, the door opened. Yimin emerged first. Composed, calm. Walked back toward his group like nothing happened. The man in the navy suit followed. Stopped when he saw Sung-wook. And smiled. Not nervous. Not guilty. Confident. Like he'd already won. Then he walked past them. Out the front entrance. Into the night. Alessia looked at Sung-wook. Why didn't you stop him? Because he's not the one I want. What? But Sung-wook was already moving. Back toward Yimin. She followed. He approached the group, smiled polite. Yimin, can I borrow you for a moment? Yimin's expression didn't change. Of course. They walked toward the bar. Alessia stayed close. Close enough to hear. I'm going to ask you something, Sung-wook said quietly, and I need you to answer honestly. Always. How long have you been feeding information to external parties? Yimin went very still. I don't know what. The Singapore transfer request, the access you granted to subsidiary accounts, the meetings you rescheduled to compartmentalize information flow. Sung-wook's voice stayed calm, almost conversational. How long? Yimin's jaw tightened. You can't prove any of that. I don't need to prove it, I just need you gone. You're bluffing. Am I? Sung-wook pulled his phone. Turned the screen toward Yimin. Email chains. Time-stamped. Detailed. Every access breach, every file transfer, every meeting change. Mapped across 3 months. Yimin's face went white. How's? You're good, Sung-wook said, but you're not careful, you left patterns. This won't hold up. It doesn't have to, I'm not taking you to court, I'm taking your credentials, your access, your career. He leaned closer. Security will escort you out. You have 5 minutes to leave quietly, or I make this very public. Yimin looked around. At the people still dancing. Still talking. Still pretending nothing was wrong. You're making a mistake, he said. No, you did, 3 months ago when you thought I wouldn't notice. 2 security personnel appeared. Not uniforms, just suits. But the message was clear. Yimin didn't resist. Didn't argue. Just walked. Toward the exit. Head down. Finished. The room didn't stop. Didn't react. Most people didn't even notice. That's how containment works in high-stakes environments. No spectacle, no confrontation. Just quiet removal. Problem identified. Problem solved. Alessia watched him disappear, then looked at Sung-wook. That's it. That's it. But the man in the navy suit is gone. You just let him leave. Yes. Why? Sung-wook's expression went flat. Because Yi-min was the leak, but he wasn't the architect. Her stomach dropped. You mean? I mean whoever hired him is still here. She looked around the room. At all the faces still smiling. Still drinking. Still pretending. How do you know? Because, Sung-wook said quietly, when Yi-min was escorted out, 90% of this room reacted, looked, whispered, wondered. And the other 10% didn't react at all. Her pulse spiked. Because they already knew. Yes. He scanned the room slowly. Stopped on someone. Alessia followed his gaze. Park Min-jun, standing near the window. Glass in hand. Expression neutral. Eyes on them. Not surprised. Not concerned. Just watching. No, she whispered. But Sung-wook's jaw was tight. He's been here 8 years, Sung-wook said. Longer than anyone, knows every system, every person, every vulnerability. But he warned me. He positioned you, Sung-wook corrected. Told you proximity was dangerous, made you think he was helping. She replayed the conversation in her head. People who get too close to him don't last. I learned to be useful without being interesting. It wasn't a warning. It was a threat dressed as advice. What do we do? She asked. Sung-wook looked at her. You heard me. Something shifted in his expression. Not surprise. Recognition. Now, he said quietly, we wait. For what? For him to realize Yi-min's arrest just made him visible. And across the room, Min-jun's phone buzzed. He checked it. His expression changed. Just slightly. Just enough. Then he looked up. Directly at Sung-wook. And smiled. Min-jun didn't run. That's what made it worse. He finished his drink, set the glass down carefully, adjusted his cufflinks. Then walked toward them. Not fast, not slow. Just deliberate. Like he'd been waiting for this moment, and now it was finally here. Sung-wook didn't move. Didn't signal security. Just watched him approach. Alessia's pulse hammered. Should I stay? Sung-wook said quietly. Min-jun stopped 3 feet away. Smiled. You're better than I thought, he said. And you're sloppier than you should have been. Min-jun's smile widened. Am I? Yi-min broke in under 2 minutes, gave me everything. Yi-min was expendable. So were you apparently. That landed. Min-jun's expression flickered. Just for a second. Then smoothed over. You think removing me solves anything? I think, Sung-wook said, you underestimated how much I was willing to lose to find you. Min-jun looked at Alessia. And her, was she willing to lose everything too? That wasn't your concern. No, but it should have been yours. Sung-wook stepped forward. Not aggressive. Just closing distance. Security's already outside, he said. You can walk out quietly, or I can make this very loud, your choice. Min-jun studied him for a long moment. Then looked at Alessia again. He'll do this to you too eventually, he said. Use you up, discard you when you're no longer useful. Maybe, Alessia said, but at least I'll see it coming. Min-jun laughed. Soft, bitter. No, you won't. Then he turned and walked toward the exit. Security flanked him before he reached the door. No scene. No struggle. Just gone. The room kept moving. Music still played. People still talked. And Alessia stood there, trying to remember how to breathe. Sung-wook didn't speak on the drive back. Neither did she. The car stopped outside her building. She reached for the door handle. Wait. She stopped. He was looking at her, expression unreadable. You need to decide something, he said. What? Whether you're staying. Her stomach tightened. At the company. Near me. That landed differently than it should have. I don't understand. Yes, you do. He was right. She did. You're asking if I want out. I'm telling you that you can have out. Clean, no consequences. I'll write the reference myself, any company you want. She stared at him. Why now? Because now you know what this actually costs. And you think I'll run. I think you should. That hurt more than it should have. But you don't want me to. He didn't answer. Just looked at her. And somehow, that was the answer. I need time to think, she said. Take as much as you need. She got out. The car waited until she was inside before driving away. She didn't sleep. Sat at her kitchen table, laptop open. Job listings pulled up. 3 offers already in her inbox, headhunters who'd been circling for months. Good positions, better pay, companies where the biggest risk was a bad quarterly report. Safe. Predictable. Exactly what she should want. She stared at them until the words blurred. Then closed the laptop. Because somewhere between the gala and the car ride home, something had clarified. Walking away didn't restore safety. It erased agency. She'd spent years staying invisible, keeping distance, never letting anyone matter enough to hurt her. And it had worked. She'd been safe. She'd also been powerless. Proximity to Sung-wook was dangerous, she knew that now more than ever. But it was also the first time in her career she'd felt like she could actually affect outcomes instead of just managing them. That wasn't nothing. That was everything. She picked up her phone. Typed a message. I'm coming in tomorrow. Sent it. 3 dots appeared immediately. Then, you don't have to. She typed back. I know. The dots appeared again. Stopped. Started. Stopped. Then, okay. She arrived before sunrise. Building empty except security. Took the stairs again. Reached her desk. Powered on her computer. Started working. An hour later, Sung-wook arrived. Stopped when he saw her. You're here. I'm here. He studied her face. Why? Because I'm not done yet. With what? Figuring out what this is. He set his briefcase down. And what do you think it is? I don't know, but I know what it's not. What's that? It's not you protecting me, it's not me protecting you, it's not hierarchy, and it's not strategy. Then what is it? She stood. Walked around her desk. Stopped in front of him. It's a choice, she said. Every day, to stay or leave, to trust or walk away, and I need you to stop deciding for me which one I'm making. His jaw tightened. I was trying to keep you safe. I know, but I don't need safe, I need honest. I've been honest. No, you've been strategic, there's a difference. He didn't argue. Because she was right. What do you want from me? He asked. I want you to stop managing me like I'm a variable in your equation. And if I can't, then I leave, not because it's dangerous, because I refuse to be controlled. That landed hard. He looked at her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Okays. Okays. No more decisions about your risk without consulting you first. And no more using me as bait. And no more using you as bait. And if something comes up, something like Min-jun, you tell me before you act. He hesitated. Even if telling you changes how you react. Especially then. Another pause. Longer this time. Then, deal. She exhaled. Didn't realize she'd been holding her breath. There's one more thing, she said. What? I'm not your assistant anymore. His expression shifted. What are you? I don't know yet, but we're going to figure it out together. No titles, no hierarchy, just whatever this actually is. He stared at her. And for the first time since she'd met him, she saw him uncertain. Not about strategy. Not about power. About her. I don't know how to do that, he said quietly. Neither do I. That doesn't scare you. It terrifies me. Then why stay? She almost laughed. Because leaving scares me more. That honesty hung between them. Raw. Undefended. Real. He stepped closer. Not controlling. Not calculating. Just close. I can't promise this won't be dangerous, he said. I know. I can't promise I won't make mistakes. I know that too. And I can't promise. Stop, she said. Stop promising things you can't control. Just promise you'll tell me the truth, even when it's ugly, even when it costs you. He looked at her. Really looked at her. I can do that. Good. Neither of them moved. The office was still empty. City still waking up outside. And for the first time in weeks, the air between them didn't feel like strategy. It felt like possibility. So what now, he asked. Now we work. Just like that. Just like that. He almost smiled. You're going to be trouble. Probably. I'm not going to be able to predict you anymore. Good. He shook his head. But there was something in his expression. Not relief. Not control. Something closer to respect. Your desk is going to need to move, he said. Why? Because you're not assisting anymore, you're consulting. Different floor, different access. I'm fine where I am. You won't be once people start asking questions. Let them ask. Alessia. I'm not hiding, not from them, not from you, not anymore. He studied her. Then nodded. Okays. Okays. You win. This isn't about winning. No, he agreed. It's about something more dangerous than that. What's that? He didn't answer immediately. Just looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Then said the thing neither of them expected. Partnership. That word settled. Heavy. Real. Permanent. She should have been scared. She wasn't. Yeah, she said quietly, I guess it is. 3 weeks later, the company restructured. Min-jun's position eliminated. Yi-min's charges settled quietly. The man in the navy suit never appeared again. And Alessia moved to the top floor. Office 3 doors down from Sung-wook's. Same access, same clearance. Different title. Strategic advisor. People talked. Of course they talked. But nobody asked her directly. And she didn't volunteer explanations. Because the truth was complicated. She wasn't his assistant. She wasn't his partner in the way people assumed. She was something in between. Something undefined. And that scared people. Good. Let them be scared. She'd spent years making herself invisible. Now she was learning how to exist in the light without burning. It wasn't comfortable. It wasn't safe. But it was hers. Late one night, 3 months after the gala, Sung-wook knocked on her office door. "Come in." He entered, closed the door behind him, stood there for a moment, just looking at her. "What?" she said. "I was wrong about you." "How?" "I thought you'd break or run or compromise. And you didn't do any of those things." She set her pen down. "Is that a compliment?" "It's an apology." That stopped her. "For what?" "For not seeing you clearly from the beginning." She studied him. "And what do you see now?" He smiled. "Small, real. Someone I can't control." "Is that a problem?" "It should be. But it's not." He shook his head slowly. "No, it's not." They sat in silence for a moment. Then he turned to leave. "Sung-wook." He stopped. "Thank you," she said, "for letting me choose." He looked back at her. "Thank you for choosing this." Then he left. And Alessia sat alone in her office. Lights off. City glowing outside her window. Thinking about all the ways this could still go wrong. All the risks still ahead. All the questions still unanswered. But for the first time in her life, she wasn't running from them. She was walking toward them. On her terms, with her eyes open. And that was worth everything she'd risked to get here. The mistake wasn't that he made her visible. It was that she chose not to disappear. And now they'd both have to live with what came next.
So here's the question I can't stop thinking about. If someone handed you that choice, safety or agency, invisibility or influence, walking away or walking toward the risk, what would you actually do?